Hello and welcome to this edition of Minstrels on the Block, where we bring you the finest singer-songwriters in the Valley area. So we got together with our best big game hunters with specific instructions for live capture, and we sent them out, and after months of seeking, they finally bagged one Kip Reitz, and he is in the studio now, and we've got him. Kip, glad to have you on the show, man. Hopefully it didn't drag you too much.
No, it was great to be here, Brian, and thanks for that introduction.
Not a problem. We aim to please. So tell me about yourself. Where were you born?
I was born in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Nice.
Bryan Memorial Hospital, that's where I got my first name, Brian. I didn't stay in Nebraska very long.
Or keep his first name very long.
Yes. The Kip's my middle name, so my parents said, hey, you're Kip. I said, well, all right, you're my parents. That's going to be my name then.
So what'd your parents do?
Well, my dad's always been a salesman for various things. And Mom was a stay-at-home mom for a long time, and then, like so many moms in the 70s and 80s, she had various jobs here and there. You know, it was a pretty stable home there for a while.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Now, were your family musical at all?
Not really. I didn't grow up with anybody having a piano or a guitar hanging around. My mom would sing when she was doing the dishes or whatever, and she had a good voice. She had good vibrato in her voice. Things like that, but no. And my extended family, my grandparents, they all had organs in their living rooms and stuff, but nobody ever played them. We'd go visit, and there'd be this thing in the corner that nobody ever played, so you know, I'd have to go turn it on.
That's what you call a gigantic cup holder.
Right, right. So I'd have to go over there and turn it on and see what I could do with it, you know.
Yeah. So what kind of music did you listen to growing up? What were some of your early influences?
Well, actually it was whatever was coming out of that one dashboard speaker in the Ford Galaxy 500 that my parents drove around.
Nice car.
You know, things like Petula Clark, Downtown, all that,
Yeah.
you know. Just whatever was popular at the time on AM radio is what got me thinking, you know, this music thing, it really makes me feel pretty cool.
Yeah.
Of course, everything evolved from there, but that was my first exposure to music and what really got me into it in the first place.
So what was it that sparked you to want to play music yourself, and how did you go about doing this?
Well, that would be Stanley Sheldon. Now y'all are saying, who that is Stanley Sheldon? He was the bass player for Peter Frampton on Frampton Comes Alive. I don't know why I was drawn to the bass in the first place, or that particular album caught me in the first place, but it was Do You Feel Like We Do, that was about a 14-minute song. And in the middle, Stanley's just keeping down the rhythm and keeping the song going so Peter can do his thing.
Yeah.
And that really appealed to me, just the lowness of it, the steadiness of it, it wasn't going anywhere. It was going to be there.
Right.
So, yeah, Stanley Sheldon was the first person that got me wanting to actually pick up an instrument and play it. And from there, you know, adolescence kicks in. You have Kiss, and huge Kiss fan. I still have some Kiss albums.
Nice.
Of all for their solo albums and everything on vinyl and everything. And regardless of what you think about Kiss, musically or otherwise, you know, they were a great band for a show.
Yeah.
They would put on a great show every single night and give their 100%. So that had an influence there. Later on, of course, as influences do, they mature. And I'd say Rush was a huge influence while I was still playing bass, because Geddy Lee is just incredible. But sooner or later, I had to decide, you know, this bass player, he's kind of in the back. I want to be in the front. I'm seeing the singer and the guitarist after the shows. That's who the girls all want to talk to, you know.
You the chicks were coming in somewhere.
And like, what do you play, bass? Where's your guitar player? So I had to switch to lead guitar, and then by then there was a movement called the New Wave of British Heavy Metal. And they actually have an acronym for that, just NWOBHM. Just Call it the new wave of British heavy metal.
It doesn't quite roll off the tongue.
Yeah,
like some
NWOBHM. What? But Iron Maiden was in the forefront of that. And I was in a band that had 2 lead guitarists and a bass player and a singer and a drummer, and that's what we did. And that taught me a lot about harmonies between guitar players and just music in general. You know, I can't forget Ludwig van Beethoven. As far as I'm concerned, he's the finest person that has ever put a pen to a piece of paper and wrote music. He could tap into any emotion that you can think of and express it. You know, so.
And that is a true talent.
Oh, with him, he played what he wrote until he turned deaf and he couldn't do it anymore. You know, and that in the classical world, that's kind of hard to find. Usually people write things and have the orchestra play them. But when you write the piano part to a piano concerto and you're sitting up there playing the piano, that's a totally different thing altogether. Jimmy Page. Enough said.
Classical music, for you young folks out there who think classical music is awesome. If you want to see hear the true nuances of classical music, put on a classical record, CD, wax cylinder, or whatever. Turn off the lights and listen. It's amazing.
Right. They didn't have videos at the time, so whatever the notes were saying to your ears was what was going to spur your imagination, and that's where the picture came in. That's why I like that. It still affects me today, you know.
Now, what got you to writing?
Well, you're a musician. The show's producer, Rusty, over there, he's a musician. You usually start off covering songs by your favorite bands or something just to see if you can do it.
Yeah.
You know, at first. And then once you find that you can do it, that leads you, I think, naturally as a musician, as an artist, to want to express your own opinions and your own feelings and to see if you can do that.
All right.
So, you know, everybody's first attempts are a little bit rough, but you keep with it, and pretty soon you play something, you record it, and you listen back, and you're like, that's exactly what I felt, and I nailed it, you know?
Yeah.
So just wanting to express my own ideas of what music has been expressing since the beginning of time.
Right.
The human emotion. You know, everybody has the same human emotions, but we all feel them a little bit differently.
Yeah.
So I wanted to try to express that a little bit and tell stories in my own way and not just play other people's stuff.
Perfect analogy. Now, stemming from that, what are some of the main things that you write from? What are your muses? What affects you and causes you to write?
That's a tough thing. It's like a question about what's your process or whatever, you know, and I think you can probably attest to this, Rusty can probably attest to this. It depends on the song. You might come up with the words first and then have to come up with a melody line for the words and then come up with the accompany to the melody line that you just came up with.
Yeah.
Or you might be out in the backyard just strumming something and maybe even make an accident. Play.
Yeah.
You're aiming for an A minor chord, but you put it up a half step and hey, that sounds pretty good. And then you go from there. So it's just wherever you are in the moment, I think. And whether you feel like that was good enough to expand upon.
Right.
You know. And sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. Music can be a frustrating thing, but when it works great. Your feelings are vindicated, and you know, the world's a happy place.
Now, stemming from that,
there's a lot of stems going on.
there's a lot of stems going on. What is, do you, of those two processes, do you have one that you more commonly use, or is it just kind of?
Music usually comes first. I'm not a really big lyric person. I don't know why. I try to write stuff and then I read it back, and it just, most of the times it doesn't kick. So I just let it go. Every now and then something kicks, and I actually like it. It actually takes convincing by my wife that it's good enough to let other people listen to.
Yeah.
Especially when I'm singing my own things, you know.
Yeah.
I never think it's good enough to let other people listen to. But she's sitting there cheerleading for me and everything, and it turns out all right.
Which is a good point for those of you fans of cover songs, that when somebody writes a song, it is a very personal experience. You're listening to a person's feelings, and original music is definitely something you should give ear to. Now, before we go to one of your songs, we have the question that starts wars and creates earthquakes. I think Atlantis fell victim to this, but Elvis or the Beatles?
Elvis.
Wow, he played so much John Lennon, I'd have figured him in the other.
Beatles were great. John and Paul, I don't think there's been a songwriting duo to even compare to them.
Oh, no.
Since then. But Elvis is the coolest person to ever walk the face of the earth. Elvis was rock and roll. The Beatles, they started kind of poppy. Mm-hmm. They danced with rock and roll here and there, mm-hmm. especially on things like Come Together and Helter Skelter, things like that. Helter Skelter, just complete rock and roll. But Elvis was rock and roll from day one.
Yeah.
I mean, turned up collar, black leather jackets, shaking stuff. You can't show it on TV. I'm just gonna, this is what the public thinks right now. Well, I'm gonna take it up a notch. And that's what rock and roll is about, not worrying about what the conventional wisdom is at the time, but just expressing yourself. And if it offends some people here and there, then that might be the case, but you're still expressing yourself. That to me, Elvis is the coolest.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Never a wrong answer, but that one was really good. Let's check out one of Kip's songs. We'll be right back after this.
All right. This is the first song I'm going to do for you. It's an instrumental that is called Good Morning. I hope it sounds like that to you.
Hello and welcome back to this edition of Minstrels on the Block. Special guest, Kip Reitz. So Kip, what have you been doing for the last couple of years?
Well, you can't tell it by looking at me, but I spent the last 20 years in the Army. And that was an experience. I got to go all over the world and get paid to do it.
Can't go wrong.
Some of the places were more friendly than others.
Yeah.
Since the Army, I've been working at the Kia plant up in West Point, Georgia, building cars on the assembly line. It's kind of tedious, repetitive thing, but, you know, pays the bills, keep me going.
Yeah.
Lets me be able to feed my guitar addiction.
Yeah.
And keep on buying some of those things. So, other than that, I try to play out when I can. I see you and Rusty when I can at Del Ranch over in Phoenix City, or Soho over in Columbus, or Fountain City Coffee on Broadway, you know, things like that. I try to congregate with other musicians as I can, have some people over at the house and record some things if we can. Whatever time allows, whatever my schedule allows, you know. I got to put the job first, of course, because my creditors don't say, well, you can pay your bill with a song.
No, they do not.
We need cash.
Yeah. So musically, what do you have going on?
Just playing around the house, really. You know, I have a music room downstairs that's set up to record at a moment's notice. So if I have some kind of inspiration, all I have to do is turn one thing on, hit record, and try to work it out. I've worked out a lot of guitar harmonies, vocal harmonies, both covers and original things, just to see what works and feed the juices.
Yeah.
You know.
Helps to keep it going.
Oh yeah.
Now, what have you've written, you've got recordings. Tell me about some of your recordings. Have you collaborated with people? Do you do it all yourself?
I collaborate when I can. One of my chief people that plays with me is a harmonica player named Josh Reynolds. He's been on the show before.
Great guy.
In fact, I think it was 2 weeks ago he was on the show. And we put some things together. He's straight blues.
Oh yeah, completely straight blues.
Right. So when I'm in a straight blues mood, I need some harmonica or something, he comes along and does that. He's also an awesome piano player. I have a piano at the house, and I'll play my 12-string. He'll play the piano, the solo, and sing and stuff. I collaborate with him. I've had Rusty over at the house, played on one of his songs called Pipe Dreams and Promises. I added some slide electric guitar to what he'd already done. He put 3 tracks down seamlessly, one take, every single one of them. It was awesome.
Rusty.
And, you know, whoever else wants to, Sean Rocks has been over before, Dan Davidson from the Bibb City Ramblers, they've all been over. So I try to keep in contact with the local musicians, if nothing else, just to keep in contact with them, you know.
It can be tough, though. Working the full-time job that does, in fact, keep the roof over your head sometimes takes up a lot of the time. It doesn't leave a lot for music.
It can be frustrating, because especially when your number one passion in life is not what you're getting paid for.
Right.
You know, it has to take kind of a side seat to it. It has to ride in the rumble seat, for those of you who are old enough to remember rumble seats.
I'm not old enough, but I know what one is.
Me
Thanks,
too.
John Cougar.
I don't think he's old enough either.
No, but he wrote a song about it, and I researched it.
Gotta like John.
Now, as you like today, I guess we might as well go for the list now, since this is what I was about to ask. But let's just say you're walking around the house on a day off. I don't know when Kia allows you to be off, but on your day off,
Sundays typically.
What are you most likely to be listening to on your wax cylinder, 78, 33, 45, 8-track, cassette, CD, iPod, or otherwise music delivering device? I forgot Victrola.
Well, these days, it's going to be my iPod. But I do have an 8-track player. It's a sphere, and it looks like a space helmet.
Nice.
It's made by a company called Weltron. If you guys want to look it up on eBay or something, it's very, very cool looking. It also has AM/FM radio. And I have KISS, 8 tracks that I throw in there every now and then just to hear what I used to hear when 8 tracks were popular. You know,
Right.
you'd be halfway through the song, and it would have to switch the tracks so the song would fade out, and fade back in. And for some reason, people that, yeah, this will do. You know, you lose the complete continuity of the song. And artists, we even like, okay, if that gets our delivery out there, that's fine. I also have a turntable, and I can listen to cassettes if I want to. Wax cylinders you brought up, I don't have any of those. My mom has the Victrola, so I don't have that. But when I go over to her house, she's got some Gershwin albums and things like Rhapsody in Blue. I'll crank the thing up and set the thing on and just reminisce about this is how music used to sound to people in their houses. You know, there's no bass, there's no mid-range, there's plenty of treble. But it really does make you wax nostalgic for how music used to be delivered to people in their own houses. You know, and if they were not playing live, which a lot of them had little parlor guitars, parlor pianos, and things like that, and they had musical gatherings. But yeah, iPod is what I plug it into. I've got different speakers all through the house, so I can just walk out here and plug it in, listen there. Out in my backyard, I have a shed, and it's got speakers in it. Cool. So music is never too far away.
Excellent. Now, your teacher in high school always said, "Where are you going to be in 5 years?" So, where would you like to see yourself, ideally, you know, in 5 years, 10 years?
I'd like to still be waking up every morning, for one thing.
That's always a plus.
I don't know. I really don't spend a whole lot of time worrying about that. I just worry about where I am right now, and right now I'm having a great time sitting here, you know, talking to you and Rusty. And, you know, whatever comes after that, I'll just try to deal with it the best way I can, you know. I've tried to plan things out before, and sometimes they come true, sometimes they don't. But I've been disappointed a lot, so I just try not to do that anymore. And it's a lot more fun just taking things as they come to you. Yeah. I think, you know, that's just me. You kids out there don't have to listen to that.
Actually, do
plan your future. Stay in school. You know, have some kind of a roadmap.
That's a question for later in the show. I'll tell you what, let's check out some more Kip stuff coming up. Some probably very insightful information to some questions I have.
All right, this next one is by one of my chief influences, Jimmy Page, of the band Led Zeppelin, of course. It's actually a combination of 2 songs. Led Zeppelin is hard to do just with an acoustic guitar because they go from acoustic to electric and back and forth. So this is Over the Hills and Far Away from the Houses of the Holy album, and Thank You from the second album. Hey lady, you got the love I need. Maybe more than enough. Oh, darling, 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 walk a while with me. Oh, you got so much, so much, so much. the sun refused to shine, I would still be loving you. When mountains crumble to the sea, there will still be you and me. Kind woman, I give you my all. Kind woman, nothing more. Little drops of rain whisper on the pain, tears of love lost in the days gone by. My love is strong, here there is no wrong. Together we shall go until we die. Oh my, inspiration's what you are to me. Inspiration, love you see. And so today my world it smiles. Your hand in mine, we walk the miles. Thanks to you, and it will be done. For you to me are the only one. Happiness no longer sad. Happiness, I'm glad. Little drops of rain whisper on the pain, tears of love lost in the days gone by. My love is strong, here there is no wrong. Together we shall go until we die. Oh my, inspiration's what you are to me. Inspiration, love you'll see. So if the sun refused to shine, I would still be loving you. When mountains crumble to the sea, there will still be you and me.
Step right up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Welcome to the greatest, well, second greatest show on earth.
Welcome back to this edition of Minstrels on the Block. Special guest, Mr. Kip Reitz. Those of you who watch Block Party vids might be familiar with some of Kip's stuff, some really good stuff on there. So, Kip, tell us a little bit about those videos. How you doing?
Well, I use a tiny little Nikon Coolpix camera on a tripod. Depending on the song and how involved I want to get with it, I'll do multiple views of the same song just for visual appeal to whoever's watching. If it's a simple song, I'll just do a single camera shot. If anybody out there has seen my video, It's Okay, that's a single camera shot. And I think that the song is simple enough that that's all it demanded, really. Some other videos, I'll do slides, like Trail of Tears. That's another one of my more heavy metal influenced things. And I just wanted to get across to people that the Trail of Tears was about the Indians. So I just tried to show a whole bunch of slides of Indians.
Right.
And that was an interesting song. Can I do a little side note about that song real quick?
Please.
Trail of Tears came about, you asked me about what my writing process was,
right?
Whether the music comes first or whatever. I was tapping one time, like Eddie Van Halen made popular in the early 80s. I'm using my neck pickup. This is going to be a little bit guitar technical, so if you play guitar, you'll understand. The neck pickup sounds a little bit different than the bridge pickup. So I had it on the neck pickup and I was doing some tapping and I said, well, that sounded a little bit like a Native American flute. So I developed that a little bit, and one thing led to another. Trail of Tears was born for that one. So that's a really fun song to listen to. Even now, for me, I listen to it in my song just about every day coming home from work, because it really gets me going. It's one of my own things. It really gets me going. That's a rare thing. If I do a cover song, then I'll have about 4 different camera shots and try to, edit them together. That's a little time intensive. I try not to do that anymore. I'd rather just come in, step in, play, and be done with it. Have somebody else do the legwork. But then again, I'm my own roadie too, so I have to move my own amps and everything like that.
Roadies, just never there when you need them.
I've never had one.
I want all the brown M&Ms gone. No.
Oh, Van Halen. Van Halen's an infamous writer. They can't play in Pueblo, Colorado anymore because found some brown M&Ms, trashed the place, and said, no, you guys can't come back.
Rock and roll, baby. Now, this is a part of the show, the section of the show. This is the pimping section. This
pimping.
Is where, we like to call it the pimping section. This is a section for shameless self-promotion. So, whatever you have, websites, Facebook, which would be a website, CDs, places they can hear your music. What do you have that you want everybody to know about?
Well, I'm on Facebook. All you got to do is search for Kip Reitz. I'll put videos up there every now and then, status up every now and then. I think my latest status was, it's only rock and roll, but I like it. Simple things like
Enough
that.
Said.
I'm told that I have 2 Reverb Nation accounts, but I haven't used them in a couple of years. I had an iTunes account that yielded 2 album sales.
Nice.
$60, man. It was
Very
nice.
cool.
I still have the checks. Didn't even cash them or anything. Framed up in my music room,
Awesome.
But right now, I'm really not trying to get in the public eye or anything. I'm just playing music because it makes me feel good, and because it's one of the things in life that makes life worth living. So that is enough for me right now.
Very cool. Well, there's a couple of questions I like to ask, and it's the same questions every week. But given that you have different people on every week, you get different answers and different insights. And I think these insights and the points of view are extremely important for people in our community, because you never know, somebody watching the show might be get something sparked by hearing somebody's input, and the movers and the shakers are the people that come up with an idea. So one is, what is your take? What do you think of the local music scene in the Valley area?
I think it's better than some places I've been in the world. I think it's very open to amateur musicians. There's a lot of open mics at a lot of various venues, and I'm going to have to give a shout out to a couple of them. You at Del Ranch, Henry Foster Conley at Del Ranch. Trip Wrigley at Soho on Tuesdays. Julian Hernandez, yourself at Fountain City Coffee. I think Henry Foster and Alicia just opened up a new one in Grover's in Phoenix City. So there's a lot of venues. If somebody is an amateur musician or even wanting to be pro or whatever, a young musician, you want to get out there and you want to play in front of people, there's a lot of opportunity to do that. And a lot of different places around the country, around the world, they just don't have that kind of thing. You have to be in kind of a clique or something before anybody's going to hear you. So I think Columbus has an edge on that.
Yeah.
They're letting people like me, yourself, Josh Reynolds, people like that, just go out there and express yourself. I think it's wonderful. It's a great city for music.
Now, stemming from that, how do you think the music scene could be improved?
I don't really know. You know, I don't ever put myself in that aspect of the business. I just want a stool to sit on so I can play a guitar.
Right.
I really don't know. I think Columbus is doing a great job. Phoenix City is doing a great job of it. The Bi-City area.
Very cool. And one last question. Now, sitting somewhere in the, you know, it's the joke that never gets old. We must have 12 viewers by now. So, somebody sitting out there on their couch with a guitar in their lap. Maybe they haven't gone out even to an open mic. Maybe they play in their living room. Maybe they just picked up a guitar. They're aspiring. They want to do something. Maybe they've been playing for a while. Maybe they've even gone out and played. But they're young. You know, they've got a lot of experience to collect. What advice would you give to aspiring artists watching the show?
I would say play every opportunity that you have, every chance that you have. If you have a free minute and you're a little bit tired, you don't feel kind of like playing, play anyway. If you have an opportunity to play live in front of people, definitely do that. You can play and sound great in your bedroom by yourself all you want to. But the point of music is to be shared with other people. The point of art is to be shared with other people. So share it with as many people as you can. Start out with your family if it makes you nervous at first to play. Start out with people that you trust. And then when you get to where you can play confidently with those people, step it up a notch. Go out to an open mic or something. Do that. Just play as often as you can. Like people that want to be writers ask other writers, what can I do to be a better writer? Well, write. Write every chance you can. Same with music, you know. What can I do to be a better player? Play every chance you can. And just love it. Everything's valid in music. Everything is valid. If it is expressing what you think, it's valid. So don't worry about your technique. Don't worry about anything like that. If at the end of what you play, you're satisfied, you've succeeded.
Very cool. A little addition or note on something he just said. Someone once asked Louis L'Amour, said, I want to be a writer. I'd love to write. And Louis L'Amour said, no, you don't. He said, if you wanted to write, you'd be writing. What Kip just said, you want to play? Play. Play every chance you get. Kip Reitz.
Brian Mallard.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Kip Reitz, man, we hope to have much more material from in the coming years. We hope to get a lot more from you.
One thing left.
Oh, yeah?
I have to say thank you to Rusty Wood and Brian Mallard for playing my videos on Block Party.
Our pleasure, bro.
I can't ask for any more exposure than that. You know, they have the confidence in me and they play my stuff, and apparently people like it. So I'll keep doing it, keep watching it, and thank you very much for that.
And Kip, we thank you because without guys like you, we wouldn't have a show. Hope to see you next time. Hope you've enjoyed this episode. Really good stuff here. See you next time. I'm your host, Brian Mallard. Minstrels on the Block, only on CTV EA.
All right, here's a song called It's Okay. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. I know what it means to me, but it might mean something different to you, and that's fine. Another time, another place, another lonely face, another year, another tear, another stone to place. Tell me it's okay. 'Cause when I see and when I hear and when I start to fear that better days and better ways have only disappeared, tell me it's okay. I don't know where to go, I don't know who to see to wind the time down here with me. I'll keep on searching, keep on hoping day to day for someone to say it's okay. And so it was, and so it is, and it'll always be, or so I thought until I caught a view of you would be, and thought it's okay. Now every day is shining bright and everything's alright, 'cause you're here and you're a dear and you're my guiding light. You say it's okay. Gaze, a little smile, make it all worthwhile. And when I'm blue, I turn to you and you can take me higher. I know it's okay. And every time that we're apart, it nearly breaks my heart. I return and then I learn that I can finally start to say it's okay.